Let's begin by following the story of a soldier named Dwight. Dwight had just gotten back to America following an exciting victory in World War I. The U.S. military decided to celebrate by undertaking a nationwide convoy from sea to shining sea, stopping in towns along the way. Thousands of trucks and soldiers, including Dwight, went along America's small, deteriorated road network. This was no easy task as most of the roads were dirt, and massive potholes swallowed the trucks. Dwight realized that America had to do better. Furthermore, navigation on these highways was confusing. It was nearly impossible to keep track of which highway went where, since there were so many small, regional road networks. In the early 1920s, the U.S. government decided no more highway names in favor of a new, federal numbered highway system. All highways were to have easy-to-recognize shields to aid in navigation. North-south highways would be designated as odd-number routes, with the lowest numbers in the east and the highest in the west. Similarly, east-west highways would be designated as even numbers, with the lowest numbers in the north and the highest numbers in the south. Then, in 1940, America's first limited-access highway opened, the Pennsylvania Turnpike. It spanned roughly 160 miles from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh, with no traffic lights. This was revolutionary for its time, and the highway was considered a major success. Contrary to this photo, it was basically a party on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Meanwhile in Germany, Dwight was playing a key role in the Second World War. He saw how effective Germany's autobahns were for the transfer of goods, people, and equipment. Note that the autobahns are not one single highway, but a highway network. Think of the modern-day U.S. interstate system. And he wanted to bring this idea back to America, so he did. In 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the National Interstate and Defense Highway Act, calling for a mass construction of limited-access freeways connecting major American cities. The states were to pay 10% of the construction costs, and the federal government would foot the rest of the bill. This was a major game changer for many states, as some, particularly in the southeastern part of the country, could not previously afford to build such grandiose highways. A new blue and red shield was used to aid navigators. Like before, odd-number routes went north and south, and even-number routes went east and west. To avoid confusion, the ordering of the highways was reversed, so that, for example, the lower numbers in the east, that were used for the U.S. highways, were moved to the west. So now for the interstate highways, the lower numbers were in the west, and the higher numbers were in the east. Many spurs were added. Spurs that deviate and return to the parent highway were given an even first digit. In this example of Washington, D.C., take Interstate 495, for example. Spurs that deviate from the parent highway and terminate elsewhere are given an odd first digit. A good example in this image is Interstate 395. You may notice that Interstate 270 may seem like an exception to the rule, but in the original highway plans, Interstate 70 South was planned to traverse the Washington, D.C. area. There have been various consequences to the American highway system. The cost of shipping and travel fell drastically. People were able to find cheaper housing in the suburbs. Tourism drastically expanded and created higher demand for hotels, restaurants, and other attractions. Additionally, many manufacturing and other large companies moved away from Rust Belt states to southern states which had lower taxes. Conversely, the decline of public transit in America was drastically sped up, and urban areas suffered, as the suburbs have continuously expanded. Without the interstate highways, people wouldn't even consider commuting 30-plus miles to their jobs. But nowadays, that seems almost commonplace.